A conflict of interest happens in health research when a research team member's secondary interests, like financial gain or the promise of status or prestige, influence their professional interests and come into conflict with ethical duties towards patients, health professionals, and society. For example, if a medical device company gave a researcher funding to study their product, the researcher would have a conflict of interest if that financial incentive led them to interpret the findings in a way that was favorable to the company while ignoring risks to patients. When there are many stakeholders involved in research, like industry and private funders, patient advocacy organizations, academic researchers, and patient partners who are members of a research team, you can have different types of relationships that could create real or perceived conflicts of interests, especially ones where there is a difference in power or influence.
Conflicts of interest can have an impact on equity and credibility. Equity, because not everybody has the same access to funding and opportunities. And credibility, because they can bias what gets studied and how results are interpreted. This could result in ethical problems or poorer quality of research. This is not to suggest that these relationships can't or shouldn't happen. In fact, they can be fruitful for everyone involved. But if there are any conflicts of interest, they need to be identified, made transparent, and managed so that they can have as little impact as possible on equity and quality of the research. For example, a research team member with direct financial ties to a drug company could manage that conflict of interest by not being involved in getting informed consent from participants.
Our team is interested in learning about conflicts of interest in patient-oriented research, an area that hasn't been studied much. We don't have much guidance on the best ways to identify and manage conflicts of interest on patient-oriented research teams. We don't know how conflicts of interest are discussed or shared, or what support teams might need to address these issues. We invite you, as members of the patient-oriented research community, to join us on Wednesday, March 10th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for a tweet chat. We'd love to hear from you about what you think are the research priorities in the area of conflict of interest in patient-oriented research and what next steps we should take on this issue.